Hey guys, welcome to another YouTube video of us. Today we're going to go through wrist mobility. This will be part one, in which we go through different movements and their prerequisites when it comes to the wrist, and also what you can do to expand your range of motion and to strengthen your range of motion. In part two, we're going to talk about wrist pain, the causes, and what you can do if it hurts to do certain exercises or when you just have wrist pain. First, we want to look at the different movements that your wrist is able to do, or the common movements or the common ranges of motion that you need when you're exercising. So when we look at the wrist, most of the time we go into wrist extension, and most of the time we need at least 90 degrees of active wrist extension. So that would be right here. You want to have at least 90 degrees. If you have less of that, that's most likely when pain will eventually, or uncomfortable, or when it gets uncomfortable for you. So when we look at this, then that would be the handstand, that would be even a bridge, like a thoracic bridge, push-ups, planche training, all these kind of things. So everything you do on the ground where you have your hands at least 90-degree angle. And then the other movement that you can do is obviously wrist flexion. This is not as common, but for people who are into gymnastics, who are into calisthenics, that might be something that is important for you as well. So when you go into a false grip hang, that is when you will have wrist flexion. But most of the time, this is not the cause for wrist pain or uncomfortable. It's not like the main driver for or lack of wrist mobility. So we'll mostly look into wrist extension today. So for wrist extension, if you don't have the range of motion to go into a active 90 degrees, but if you have the range of motion passively, which would be when you're here and you have the passive range of motion, that would be if you can lean forward, hand is flat on the ground, fingers are flat, and you can lean forward, and you see that 90 degrees would be here, and I can go way beyond that. But what if I don't have that range of motion? So maybe active, I can only do this. So this would be a lot less than 90 degrees. So then obviously I don't need to expand my range of motion if I only need 90 degrees. This is when I can do passive range holds. So passive range holds would be I try to hold it close to my end range of motion. So I lean forward as much as I can, and I try to engage all of this tissue right here. So all of these muscles are engaged, thinking of lifting the fingers off of the ground. So I want to basically do this, okay? So I think of lifting them off, build the tension in the body, and then I lean back until my fingers lift off. And that is where I hold it. At the beginning, this might be really intense, and you maybe even cramp. So try to go more volume, less intensity, which means less time under tension at once. So you can maybe go for like 3 to 5 second holds and then repeat that. So you got like 30 seconds in total. Take adequate breaks in between, so you don't want to go into it when you're cramping. Okay, so you want to take that rest. If you don't have that range of motion, so if passively you can't go beyond that 90-degree angle, that is when you want to try to add pails and rails. So you want to do or increase your range of motion passively and actively. So imagine I'm here, I'm going to stay here because I already feel a stretch, I cannot go further. And then for the pails and rails, I'm going to stay in this stretch for roughly 2 minutes. And then I'm going to slowly start increasing the intensity for the pails contraction. So that means I push my hand down as if I would try to do this. So I push the earth away from me. And then I hold that for roughly 10 to 15 seconds. And then after that, we're going to apply the rails contraction, which means we're trying to, again, lift the fingers off the ground. So if I'm at my end range, I will not be able to lift it off. And I try to, again, engage all of this, build the tension, safest maximum effort. And then maybe in the next round, I can go a little bit deeper and apply the pails and rails again. So these are basically the two things that you can do to increase your passive and to increase your active range of motion. So if you have the passive range, do the holds. If you don't have the passive range and don't have the active range, then apply the pails and rails So these are basically the two things that you can do. You can apply the same thing for flexion if flexion is something you want to work on. Thanks for watching. If you enjoyed this video, then leave us a thumbs up and subscribe to our channel to stay updated on all the mobility and strength tutorials. See you next time.